Hi there, Dr. Carmen McGuinness here with you. Today I'm going to talk about how to support our children during this difficult time. This is May 2nd. I'm recording this during the stay-at-home orders for COVID-19 pandemic. So many of my clients, parents, friends, subscribers have reached out to say, help, this is really hard. I can't get my kiddo to do the work. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If this topic is not necessary in your life, I would ask you to simply pass it on to someone that you think it could help. Stay with me. I hear a lawnmower over there. Hopefully it won't interfere in what I have to say and your ability to hear it. So, okay, we're going to talk about how to support children who are distance learning. As parents, I'm talking about. I know that many of you know that I own a private school, so I'm not speaking as a teacher. I'm writing a white paper on how schools and teachers can support children. That'll come out at a future date, not too long actually, it's about done. But today I'm going to talk specifically to parents or possibly older siblings of children, aunts or uncles, anybody in the home who is in charge of helping the student with their schoolwork. So that's the topic on the table, and there will be a focus on children with learning challenges of one sort or another. Those are the kids that I work with. Those are the kids in my private school, Chrysalis School, in Altamonte Springs. So there's going to be a focus on them. And the perspective of this, the expertise of written into it, comes from me as a behavior analyst and as a psychologist. I know what parents want. Way before the COVID pandemic, it was obvious to me that most parents desire and expect their child to be internally motivated, a self-starter, you might say. And it was obvious to me then as well that parents want their children to mind them and behave just because they should. Believe me, I'm a parent too. I understand these desires for our children. But I also understand how this internally motivated, self-starting do-gooder came to be. The example I'm going to use today is Alexander Fleming. He is the discoverer / inventor of penicillin, and I'm going to use him because of what's going on in the world today and because he was a truly great guy. He did a wonderful thing for the world and someone that we might think of as a self-starting go-getter. Alexander Fleming didn't discover the medicinal qualities of mold because it felt nice. He did it because there was a need, specifically the tremendous loss of life as a result of World War I, followed just a few decades later by the onset of World War II. And the need was apparent to Fleming. And he also did it because his work paid him. He worked at that point for Letterly Laboratories, which is now Pfizer Inc. And he got an extra special treat, the Nobel Prize, because his effort was extraordinary. So there was a magic combination of elements at play here. There was, number one, a need, number two, awareness of the need on Fleming's part, and number three, a reward, or what we behavior analysts call reinforcement. And number four, the reward was paired with the accomplishment. Well done, Mr. Fleming, here's your Nobel Prize. Oh, and it also doesn't hurt if parents model hard work. Fleming's parents were farmers, and his own son followed him into the field of medicine. So clearly these parents were modeling a work ethic. Now I want to stop here briefly and say that many parents are working from home now too, and they are very much under the spotlight for their children. Their children can see them either dutifully doing their work and apparently enjoying it, getting a feeling of accomplishment, or bitching and moaning. So be careful what you show your children. Be careful how you feel yourself as well. So with this magic combination, children learn to do things for the joy of doing them, getting them done, a sense of accomplishment. And they learn this because their parents have modeled hard work without complaint. They see the need. I need to do my schoolwork so I can get my iPad afterwards, and so my parents will be proud of me. They have experienced external rewards in their accomplishments in the past, the iPad paycheck, and they've received extraordinary rewards for extraordinary effort in the past, maybe ice cream. These external rewards were paired with the good feeling of having done a great job. They were paired by parents' hard work. In other words, I'm so proud of you. Great job getting your work done. Now there's a caveat. Yes, I do understand that schoolwork is harder for some children than for others. Needless to say, we are drawn to what we do good, what we are good at. Fleming, for instance, didn't become a bacteriologist because he was good at playing guitar. Science and math were his forte. So we parents of children who find schoolwork hard, extra hard, have to support their effort by giving them help and reteaching when they need it. And we need to up the paycheck. Give them iPad, that's the paycheck, and maybe ice cream too. First work, then iPad and ice cream is the Premack principle. In behavior analysis, we call it first then. And sometimes we make a joke about first broccoli, then applesauce. But you know what I mean. Only when they've done the work do they get the reinforcer. Pfizer didn't say to Fleming, "Hey, Fleming, here's a little money in advance. Please go do your job today." And the Nobel Prize Committee didn't say, "Here's your prize, Mr. Fleming. Go save the world." To work, to actually work. Paychecks, Nobel Prizes, iPads, and ice cream must follow the effort. Now, sometimes it's hard for these children to actually, what we call, contact the reinforcer. Many of you parents are probably thinking, but he'll never get to use his iPad or have ice cream ever again because he never, ever gets his work done without a big battle. And you might also be thinking, and I'm not going to reinforce him after a battle. And you would be right about that. So we're going to help him contact the reinforcer. The trick is not to have the battle at all. Instead, help him to the extent, and only to the extent, that he does get his work done and does experience the reward. Initially, this might require more help from you and less effort from him. Once he gets his work done a few times, and you provide the reinforcer every single time, he'll start to see how the game works. But no drama. The first time or two, he's probably going to try to make a dramatic stance. That's where your career as an actor comes in. But wait, Dr. McGuinness, you say, I'm no actor. Well, of course you are. You're a parent. Parents, every single one of us, have been acting since the day baby was born. Just think about it, all the things that you had your tongue in your cheek while you were saying, like, "Oh, that's the most beautiful picture I've ever seen," and you're thinking, what is that? Or, "Oh, this tastes delicious, this magic cookie you made for Mommy," and you're thinking, wow, so salty, maybe they used salt instead of sugar when they made this. Things like that. Or, how about this one, my favorite? Sitting in the baseball game, wondering if they're going to call the game because it's raining. And before it was raining, it was 95 degrees, so it's also steaming. And smiling while you're doing it. Of course, you're an actor. So when you sit down to help him or her with the schoolwork, and he starts to whine and fuss and turn on all the weapons he has aimed at you, you're going to turn on the charm and you're going to act calm. Don't even bother with the pep talk about how it's not that bad, it's not that much work, yada, yada, yada. He'll view this as negotiating. So instead, just start helping him. Start doing the work. Do what you want him to do. Pick up the pencil. And no threats. Avoid the temptation to tell him there will be no iPad and no ice cream if he doesn't stop whining. Threats and other forms of coercion will only make things worse. Indeed, numerous studies have demonstrated that children of coercive parents are more withdrawn. They're more passive-aggressive and become overtly hostile when pushed too far. Instead of threatening, just pick up the pencil and start helping him. This also accomplishes modeling a work ethic, as mentioned earlier in this talk. So everything I've just described, behavior analysts call shaping, and it's what good parents call parenting. Shaping is when we change someone else's behavior by changing our own. You've stopped demanding and you've stopped threatening bad behavior. You've started helping and rewarding good behavior. And you'll continue to shape his behavior in this way by helping with harder and harder stuff as this goes forward, and rewarding only when the work is done, and giving ice cream when he's been fully compliant, done a super job, and was amazing. And then, when we get that far, it's time to fade the help and the ice cream. One of the ways that we shape behavior is by fading the prompt and the reinforcer. We can think of the help as the prompt and the ice cream as the super-duper reinforcer. Fading is when we slowly stop providing that prompt, that help that we've been giving, or slowly reduce the reinforcer, the ice cream, out of the equation. Once he gets the hang of this first work, then iPad thing, it's time to fade the help and the ice cream. But keep giving him the iPad. It's his paycheck, and he earned it. And, very important, be ready to offer help and ice cream again if he asks nicely. So, caveat number 2, behavioral intervention is a way of life, not a cure. Where most parents fail is when they think they're done and they stop parenting. If you believe you'll never have to help your child again, ask yourself if you'll ever need help again yourself. Of course you will. And when you feel like he shouldn't have to get a payoff playing with the iPad just because he did his schoolwork, ask yourself if you're willing to work for free. Are you willing to work for free? Probably not. And for goodness sake, give him some ice cream if the work is extra hard. Now this might be something like work getting harder from the school. Work does get harder. That's the plan. Or it could be something internal, like he's just having a bad day. He doesn't feel all that good, or maybe he was out playing with a friend. Oh wait, no, we can't play with friends right now. He was watching TV and doesn't want to leave it to come to do his work. So that's when you up the reinforcement value a little bit and maybe offer some help. So if you found this helpful, then, and you think it's all you need, then you can just sign off right now. But if that piece about coercive parenting maybe struck a chord and you could possibly benefit from hearing more about that, stay with me, because I'm going to delve deeper into coercive parenting. I'm going to talk about all 12 parenting behaviors considered to be coercive. And this shouldn't take as long as what we've done so far. So, number 1 is sarcasm. Making fun of the child or teasing him. for instance. Oh, saying something like, oh yeah, well, if I did this, I'd never get a paycheck. If I fussed and whined like this, my boss would fire me. That sort of thing. Sarcasm. Number 2 is lecturing. Putting the child down by how illogical his behavior is and that sort of thing. Sort of, telling him off in a not very nice way. Coercive. The third is one-upsmanship. Trying to give the child something to think about or show them how good his life has been. What would have happened if you had misbehaved when you were a child like this? You would have amounted to nothing. When I was growing up, there was no such thing as ice cream, for instance, things like that. Number 4, telling on him to other people. You wait till your father gets home. Or I'm going to go get your mother. She'll know how to handle this. That sort of thing. Or I'm going to text Miss Carmen and tell her you're not doing your homework. Not cool. And the 5th is criticism. Just putting him down. Don't be so stupid. Or you can't do anything right. Or why can't you just sit down and do it like your brother or your sister? That sort of thing. Not cool. Number 6 is questioning. And this is irrelevant questioning, ridiculous questioning. Things like, why can't you just do your work? Why can't you be a good boy? That sort of thing. Questions that are, how's he going to answer that? Number 7 is force. This is where you just, I think the worst thing I ever saw was a father, and I'm probably fortunate that this is the worst I've ever seen because I know a lot worse goes on, but a father who flicked his child in the ear every time he gave him any lip or anything. It was pretty ugly. Pushing, aggressive posturing, leaning in, that sort of thing. Forceful. Number 8 is threats, and we talked a little bit about them. Threatening a negative consequence or the removal of a potential positive consequence, like getting his iPad. Number 9 is sudden subtraction. I really don't like this one. This is something like, say your child is using his iPad, and you say, time's up, buddy. Time to come do your schoolwork. We can have iPad after we do our schoolwork. He gives you a little bit of lip, and you just pull it out from under him. This isn't cool. If he was allowed to have the iPad before, then he's allowed to have it. You have to somehow separate the iPad in advance of the work to the iPad after the work. My recommendation there is that you would not have the iPad shortly before it's time to do your schoolwork. So if he does his schoolwork first thing in the morning, it might be get up, brush your teeth, wash your face, have breakfast, start the schoolwork. When you're done, you have your iPad. Or in the olden days, when we still went to a bricks and mortar school, we would get home, brush our teeth, wash our hands, or our face, hands and face, do homework, then the iPad. So that sort of thing. But I've also seen sudden subtraction after the fact. So say a child has earned the iPad, they've done their schoolwork, you give them the iPad, that's your paycheck, and then just a couple of minutes after that, he says something rude to his sister, and you snatch the iPad away. That's kind of like if your boss gave you your paycheck, and then later that day you told him that you hadn't done something that was supposed to be done that morning, and he snatched your paycheck away. A paycheck is a paycheck. It's yours. So make sure anything like that is separate. You might sit down and give him a long talking to about how he spoke to his sister, but you don't snatch away his paycheck. And number 10 is arguing. Attempting to force the child to agree with something that you're saying. Basically any situation where the caregiver engages in a back and forth sort of arguing with him to get him to see your point. It doesn't really so much matter whether he agrees with you or not. He just needs to do his homework. He might, all the way through his school career, think that schoolwork stinks. But he's still got to do it. So there's not a lot of point in trying to persuade him. Yeah, you can persuade him through example, you can persuade him through conversation, but through argument, I don't think there's a lot of people that ever actually won something through argument. Usually we have to win people over. Number 11 is despair. I hate this one. I have a feeling my mother might have used to do this to me because it really pushes my buttons. And I had a great mother, but I think she did do this one thing. Despair is when you make the child feel guilty. I can't handle this anymore. I have to do my work, and now I have to help you with your work too. Why can't you just sit down and do it? You're breaking my heart, etc., etc., etc. Don't do that. It's not very effective, number one, and it's not very helpful. So number 12 and last one is the silent treatment. This is when you obviously ignore your child because he has not done what it is that you want him to do, and you're mad at him. It's kind of taking mommy away, kind of an effect. Not cool. So those are the 12 coercive parenting tactics that are pretty well known. The list I just read to you was developed by a student at the University of South Florida for his master's degree thesis, and his name is Corey Cohrs, C-O-H-R-S. And I've used his work on this particular topic for many years. Really great compilation and effort from Corey. So I hope this has been helpful. And as I said earlier, if it doesn't fit within your particular needs right now, then please do share it on to a friend who you feel could benefit from it. I thank you for your attention today, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Have a wonderful week.